The crabs of the sea engage in a struggle beneath a pier on the shores of New Jersey, where a large community of land crabs has created their own city, Data, in a human-like style. We see that they've built their homes, have jobs, and even entertained themselves by singing and playing beach volleyball, or exercising with nuts and bolts, like this trio of muscular crabs. But this community's joy ends when a group of sea crabs arrives, migrating from the water to spend the summer at the pier. These creatures come to this beach every year for a delightful vacation, raising the ire of the land crabs who feel their habitat is being invaded. Back to the water, friend. It seems it's time to clash shells. Among all the critters is Harmon, a timid crab who struggles to socialize due to a past trauma related to the death of his parents in a storm. Since then, the poor guy fears entering the water and lives a secluded life, so much so that he's too sickly to entertain himself. He cleans his house twice a day. His only companion is a simple anemone that lives in his shell, which always tries to motivate him to go outside. He is friends with the strong crabs we saw at the beginning, who visit him to take him out for a walk on the beach. Meanwhile, the group of critters finds a new, much more luxurious and spacious shell and organizes a community move, a tradition where the crabs line up according to their social hierarchy to change shells for better living conditions. All the crabs are happy to improve their shells. However, Harmon is the only unfortunate one who refuses to change his very old and neglected shell. He clings to it because it was the last gift from his parents before they disappeared. Among the strong crabs is his best friend Bobby, and together they work at the hotel, serving their marine rivals. It turns out that these crabs, with the wealth from the sea, hold a better position than their land relatives, whom they treat disdainfully, considering them inferior. But not everything is advantageous for the sea crabs, as being out of the water for too long can even lead to their demise. At the hotel, Harmon meets a daring sea crab named Ramona, and he falls in love the moment he sees her jumping from a waterfall. However, she doesn't pay much attention to him because she talks to a brash sea crab named Miko, who invites her to a nightclub party. That night, Harmon returns home sad because all his neighbors have partners, while he is left alone like an abandoned dog due to his fears. Ramona also suffers from loneliness, since her mother is quite overprotective and always forbids her from doing things without supervision. When her mother finds out that her daughter wants to go to the nightclub, she forbids her from leaving the house. However, Ramona disobeys her mother's orders and escapes with her sister to have a good time. As for Harmon, he also goes to the party because he is dragged along by Bobby and the other strong crabs to get him out of his shell and have some fun. There, he runs into Ramona and they start chatting, awakening Miko's jealousy, who intervenes to mock Harmon. Bobby and his friends defend Harmon, starting a fight with the sea crabs that ends with the muscular critters and Harmon being kicked out of the club. Later, Harmon goes to the shoreline to reflect and is attacked by Miko and his friends, taking advantage of the fact that Miko is a coward. So, they steal Harmon's shell to mock him. Seeing this, Ramona defends him against the thugs, but unfortunately, Harmon's shell falls into the water. Desperate, Harmon and the sea crab go to retrieve it, but a huge wave sweeps them into the depths. And to make matters worse, the tide is so strong that it destroys the homes of the poor land crabs. The next morning, Harmon wakes up on another beach without his precious shell and encounters a fat merchant who wants to capture him. Although Harmon tries to escape, he is too slow, and the merchant captures him to sell him in his gift shop on the pier. There, Harmon meets a bunch of other trapped crabs and runs into Ramona, who is worried about getting to the water because if she doesn't, she will die. Meanwhile, on the coast, the land and sea critters unite to search for Ramona and Harmon until the lazy and deceitful Miko tells the others that it was all Bobby and his friends' fault, reigniting the dispute between both sides. Back with the protagonists, Ramona convinces the crabs to escape, and as soon as the fat merchant opens the cage to eat, all the crustaceans attack him and escape down the pier towards the coast. As they roam the area, Ramona becomes very happy not to have her mother hovering over her, telling her what to do. In contrast, the fearful Harmon insists on returning home quickly. For this reason, the timid crab looks for a high point to spot the ocean and has the brilliant idea to climb onto the roller coaster of the pier, thinking it would be something calm. Ramona enjoys the ride so much that she encourages Harmon to try out the other attractions at the park, slowly getting the timid crab excited about exploring the world. The problem is that being out of the water for so long makes Harmon start to feel unwell. To distract her, he talks to her and confesses that since the accident with his parents, he became very fearful, with water being his main fear. This made him hide in his shell and avoid interacting with others. Meanwhile, Meanwhile, his friend Bobby goes out to look for him and meets Ramona's hyperactive sister, who is also looking for her sister. They chat, and the strong crab tells her he's tired of everyone thinking he's just a muscle-bound fighter, and thanks her for being the first to really listen to him. As it gets late, being a gentleman, Bobby walks her home, and at the entrance, Ramona's mother appears, accusing him of being responsible for her daughter's disappearance. The strong critter sadly returns home and sees his friends in the nightclub fighting against Maiko and his henchmen. Bobby tries to stop them, but inadvertently tears off Maiko's arm. Furious, the boastful crab leaves, swearing revenge, and to annoy them, he throws Harmon's old shell, mentioning that his friend died at that moment. From the shell comes the anemone, who tells them that Maiko caused the accident, enraging the land crabs, who declare war on the sea crabs. At the same time, Harmon and Ramona start dating, but when the cowardly crab runs into two companions from the store's cage, the very little man distances himself from Ramona for fear they'll find out he's in love with a sea crab. His gesture breaks Ramona's heart, and she flees the place to return to the sea alone. Quickly, Harmon follows her to apologize and notices she's dehydrated and about to faint. He helps her walk along the beach, but during the journey, Ramona loses consciousness and is on the brink of death. Meanwhile, the team of orange and sea crabs starts the war, with the land crabs ingeniously finding the best weapons for battle. When the war begins, some female crabs launch matches like incendiary arrows from the head of the bald human who had been buried in the sand by his daughter. The battle continues, and it seems the forces are evenly matched, so the crabs from both sides give it their all. Suddenly, a shell flies through the air, and just as it's about to hit Ramona's mother, Bobby shows his good heart and saves her just in time. As for Harmon, he struggles to carry Ramona to the sea, and when he reaches the shore, he observes the fierce war between the crabs. But despite the obstacles, Harmon dons the cape of a hero and crosses the battlefield with Ramona on his back. As he advances, the other crabs realize they're alive, and seeing the brave critter's gesture, they decide to stop fighting. When Harmon reaches the shore, he confronts his fear and plunges into the sea with his love's body, who, thanks to the water's contact, regains consciousness. Once awake, Ramona realizes that Harmon saved her life and gives him a passionate kiss before surfacing. Here, the lovebirds reunite with their families and friends. Then, Harmon takes the opportunity to confess to everyone that he's dating Ramona. Seeing the love they share, the crabs understand they are part of the same species and end their rivalry. They also uncover Maiko's lies, and the foolish crab receives a scolding from his mother, who takes him away from the beach. The next day, with help from the sea critters, the land crabs rebuild their city, and to make amends, Maiko gifts Bobby a state-of-the-art shell. In this way, the strong crab organizes a new house move and returns Harmon his old shell, with his friend the anemone inside. But instead of keeping it, Harmon realizes it's time to overcome his past, and, coordinating with his friend, gifts the shell to a needy crab. Meanwhile, he keeps the shell that the merchant from the shop gave him, so Harmon leaves behind the shell that held him back and enjoys his new life with Ramona and his friends.